Hi, my name's JD Eppert. I'm our regional production manager with Bartlett Roofing. I'm here with Weston, who's another one of our production employees. We're here on an install of ours in Nampa, Idaho, to go over our training process for midpoint inspections for the quality control reps. All right, so now we're gonna bring in Michael Lostra to kind of talk about and point out the sales side of things and the handoff from their perspective to work with the quality control representatives and the homeowner. So thanks for coming to the job site today, Michael. If you could explain your side of things from the sales side and the interaction with the quality control team so we can take care of our customers to the best of our abilities.
Fantastic. So I'm Michael. I am the director of training, and I handle all the teaching of all the salespeople.
I taught school for 20 years in the inner city, so don't even think about messing with me.
The notion is that the sales staff's job, the project manager's job, is the liaison with the homeowner. They have the relationship, but they don't have the technical expertise that the QC people bring.
Yes.
So our notion is that we should be a team because we have the relationship and you have the technical expertise. So we bring our relationship to your technical expertise. When we're sitting with the homeowners, we can say, hey, look, the QC guy knows everything that's going on this project as far as the actual construction goes. So if you have a question or a concern, you can reach out to the QC guy. He has the answer. We've got somebody who is an expert on the project, watching the project. Your home is in good hands, I guess, is what we're looking at. Does that make sense?
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Makes perfect sense.
So I guess the big question then is, what do you need from us?
We just want a smooth transition. We know the sales rep as a project manager, you've been working with the customer.
Mm-hmm. You
You have that good rapport with them. So as a quality control rep being a new face to the homeowner, we would love for us to tackle that together. As an introduction to the homeowner if they're home, just letting them know that we're working closely together.
No, and that's kind of where we come at too. You're going to be on the project. My homeowner, who knows me, doesn't know any of the guys on his roof, and now there's another random guy in a Bartlett shirt wandering around. So our feeling is that the introduction to you, to the homeowner, is going to be essential, because then the homeowner knows, like, who you are and why you are there. So there's a few things that we find essential from a sales perspective. A smooth handoff to the homeowner, I think, is part of it. But the other thing is, we've already been on site and we already know what the homeowner finds important in their yard, because we've done that walk around several times and we've created that relationship. So when we get here in the morning, one of the first things we're going to want to do after introducing the QC person to the homeowner is then we're going to want to walk the property with the QC rep and point out any of those things that the homeowner has already indicated to us are an important thing.
Yeah, and from the quality control side of it, I love that, because quality control reps, we're going from multiple job sites. So at times there might be some things we miss. So after that introduction, I think it's a great idea for the quality control rep and the project manager to walk around that job site, because you as the sales rep might know what personal items of the homeowner are valuable to them, whether it be birdhouses, specific plants that the homeowner really loves. So then we can point out and address those issues and take extra precautions to protect all the items on the job site.
Right. Well, and beyond that, again, because you guys bring the technical expertise, you may see something that is going to present a specific and intricate challenge on the job that we didn't know about, and so we were unable to tell the homeowner about. And so now we're able to better equip the homeowner for any challenges today may face, because it is a construction site, and let's face it, construction is kind of controlled chaos.
Construction gets messy.
Something you're going to find from time to time is that your carrier is willing to pay for ice and water shield, but they're only willing to pay if it gets installed. P.W.I. If there's a P.W.I. on your job, you need to be there when that goes down, because they're going to need pictures that show that we actually installed it. Paid when incurred. The most common P.W.I. item is ice and water shield.
Ice and water shield.
When does ice and water shield go on a roof, JD? When do your crews start laying that down?
After they tear off the roof?
After they tear off the roof. It's honestly,
our crews will go ahead, they'll tear off the roof, they'll get all the debris cleared off that down to the decking, because any loose shingles, any granules, slight things like that that are left on the roof can cause some ripples once the shingles are laid. So they'll go ahead and clean that roof completely off, and then go to start installing the underlayment system.
So if you know that you have PWI on a job, you need to be there not only when they do the clean off, but when they first start the dry-in, which is going to be typically an hour after deck reveal, 2 hours?
I would say typically probably around 11 to noonish. Our crews, they like to tear off really fast, get it all cleared off. Then they kind of start to clean up. They might grab lunch and then start installing the ice and water shield and the underlayment.
And you should, as the project manager, be in constant communication with your QC person, so you guys kind of have a feel for what the time frame looks like. So you can be back on the job for that next visit when they're laying that down, so you can get pictures. Because again, we don't get paid unless we prove that we incurred the cost. And your photographs are going to be essential for that, especially if your QC guy has 7 other jobs. Somebody'd better be there to get those pictures.
Yeah.
And that somebody needs to be you. It's your job.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Super important, and I like that idea. And that's the whole point of the project manager and the quality control rep working together, because like you said, quality control reps, they have multiple job sites they're going to. So if they aren't on that job site at the appropriate time due to some other problems arise on another job site, that's where quality control will rely on the sales reps who's managing their projects to help us out and get those photos, just so, again, we can get all the funds released from those carriers.
Absolutely. And at the end of the day, guys, we talk about you as a project manager. That means you need to manage your project. That's what that means. You need to be there. You can't assume that somebody else is going to do it. You assume that if it's going to get done, it gets done because you did it. So be there, do it. If we have extra people doing it, well, that just means for certain it's not going to get missed. But if everybody else is busy or misses it, by God, it better not be you that missed it, because you're the one that pays for it at the end of the day. The expectation is that you're going to be on your job on install day 4 times. The first time, you're going to show up, you're going to introduce your QC man to your homeowner. Now, in this case, the homeowners are out, so there is no introduction because there's nobody to introduce. After you've introduced your homeowner, then you want to take your QC guy and you want to do a walk around. The reason for this, obviously, as we talked about before, you know the property better than anybody else in the company. So it's your job to let the QC people know what things the homeowner finds important. Things like, well, if they've got yard decoration, in this case, he's a Marine, you better not break that. You're gonna have a fight with a Marine. Don't do that. He's got birdhouses that he's clearly put some effort into. You wanna protect those things, and that's the sort of thing you should be alerting the QC people to. You'll come back 3 more times during the day. Once at the end of tear off, when the deck has been revealed, we wanna make sure you're there to put a 3rd set of eyes on the deck. And then you should come back 2 more times after they've started shingling and once the job is done. So since this is our first visit, we're gonna go ahead and do the walk around. So let's walk around. JD, what do you want your QC people to be watching for when they're doing the walk around with my sales guys?
So like you pointed out, as a sales rep, you know what's important to the homeowner. So you're automatically pointing out to us, you know, either these plants are important to the homeowner, these birdhouses, like you mentioned. He's a Boise State fan. I know people in Idaho love their Boise State Broncos. So we wanna, you're letting the quality control rep know we need to take those things. From the quality control side, the things we're looking for is to make sure there is adequate enough tarps out to protect the property. We're also looking for pre-existing damage, which is something maybe a sales rep is not so in tune with, because it's super important, because during the tear off, it does get really messy. So as a quality control rep, if we can spot pre-existing damage, document those photos just to protect ourselves for the midpoint inspection. Other things we're going to be looking for, air conditioning units, not just putting tarps over those, but we want a solid piece of OSB over that, because once material starts piling up on that, it can cause them to overheat, nails can get into them if they're running, and nobody wants to buy a homeowner a new AC unit.
Well, it's really any protrusion from the house, right? I mean, a gas meter, a spigot, that sort of thing, anything that could get damaged by falling debris, we want to be aware of.
Right. Other things the quality control rep is going to have eyes on is the crew's dump trailer. Is it parked, how close it is parked to the garage, if they're protecting the garage, looking for ladders on gutters. We absolutely hate that. Preferably if we can put them on a rake edge, that's what we want. Some houses like this one we're on now, the whole house is wrapped with gutters. So in those situations, we just want our crews to protect those gutters with whether it be a gutter guard, even a roll of underlayment in the gutter, just so that ladder isn't leaning on the gutter, to prevent dents, scratches, just any type of damage to the gutters we want to avoid.
Yeah, well, the last thing we want to have to do is buy new gutters because we didn't properly protect the gutters when we were doing the rest of the property. That makes sense. Well, let's go ahead and do a quick walk around, and then we'll take it from there.
From the quality controls eyes, first thing I see on this house is right here in this corner. We have some pre-existing soffit damage. So at that point, I can bring that up to you as we're doing this walkthrough together. You in turn can just double check with the homeowner. Just be like, hey, we noticed this pre-existing damage. Just want to make sure you're aware of it. So, because a lot of common occurrences are homeowners don't always know about their pre-existing damage, but as soon as we put on a new roof, their eyes are on every part of their house.
Oh, would you look at that?
Yeah, well,
Would you look at that? Oh my gosh, just look at it.
Anything we can do to just keep everybody updated on the same page during the whole installation process makes everybody's life easier once the roof is completed.
And that makes sense. From a sales perspective, you want to make sure that anything that can be moved away from the eave edges gets moved away. And really, it doesn't necessarily need to be everything of value, everything of importance. The homeowner has things in their yard, decorations that maybe they aren't terribly expensive, but the homeowner put them there because the homeowner finds value in them for something, whether it's cost or beauty, doesn't matter. As their rep, you should be looking out for them and trying to help protect their things.
Teamwork makes a dream work.
Hell yeah. Is this how you want the trailer to look? Is this what it should be? What is it you're looking for as far as how the trailer gets parked on the property?
I just want to make, as quality control rep, I'm making sure it's not touching the garage.
Okay.
Usually a good 1 to 2 foot distance is good. That's what we like. That way it makes it easier for the crew when they are tearing off those shingles, they can just throw them directly into the dumpster. We like tarps tacked on to the roof and dropped in front of the garage. And this is just to prevent scuff marks, because as you can see, our crews do their best to throw their shingles in the dumpster, but with wind or just they never played baseball and don't know how to throw a shingle, sometimes they fall on the ground or they'll scuff the garage. They won't necessarily break it, dent it, but scuff marks. Just tacking a tarp from the decking to hang down in front of that garage, that's Bartlett standard.
Okay, that's good to know. And that actually brings an interesting question to mind. If we show up on the job ahead of you and we notice, for instance, that there is no tarp hanging down, do you want us to wait till you get there, text you and let you know, or get up and talk to the crew? What's the protocol?
I think both are good, just to double down. As long as you as a sales rep feel comfortable and confident enough to address the crew, yes, I would think that would be a smart thing to do right when they see it, but also letting that quality control guy know, just in case sometimes the crews aren't, they don't know the faces of the sales reps as good as the quality control rep. So just like the sales rep has that great rapport with the homeowner, it's vice versa, the quality control reps with the crew. So sometimes the crew might just brush off what you say, but you addressing the issue and informing the quality control rep would be two great things to do.
Fantastic. And it actually brings to mind the whole idea of both parties working together is that you have You have that collaboration, as we said earlier, where if I see a thing as the sales rep and you maybe didn't see it, now it gets addressed. If you see a thing as the quality control rep and I didn't see it as the sales rep, now it's getting addressed. It's the idea that more eyes avoid.
More eyes and constant communication.
Exactly.
We are not able to do the volume of installs and take care of as many homeowners as we can and want to do without constant communication between all the employees that we have. You know, we have a big team, so why not utilize our team
Exactly.
to the full efficiency we can.
And really, at the end of the day, nobody cares about your project as much as you, because you're the one that established that initial contact. You're the one that reached out to the customer in the first place and began that relationship. You should, from a professional perspective, just have the pride in your own work ethic and in your own word to want to make sure that everything gets done better. But honestly, it's your money, man. The more we're able to take care of the customer in the most efficient way possible, and the less extra money that has to go into fixing things that got broken because nobody was paying attention, or cleaning up things because things got scuffed because nobody put a tarp out, the more you take care of those things in advance, the better this job is going to go, the happier your homeowner is going to make, and quite frankly, the more commission you're going to make at the end of the project. And as much as I love what I do, part of what I do is get paid to do what I do.
If you're good at something, never do it for free.
From a sales perspective, it's important to get on the roof, and you should be up here when the deck is revealed. And there's a couple of reasons for that. We'll do some specific training on things that you're going to look for, but I'll tell you what you want to watch for. The first thing you want to watch for is you want to make sure that you don't have extra layers, which, by the way, we have extra layers. So we'll do some specific training on how to deal with that. One of the other things you want to look for is decking. Now listen, you're not the technical expert, so you should be up here with your QC rep and taking his lead on things. He knows what to look for, but there should be extra eyes on the job. Basically, we want to look at a job not like a sieve, but like Swiss cheese. The problem we have is that things fall through the cracks. Well, if QC is looking at a thing, and the crew is looking at a thing, and you as the salesman are looking at the thing, if all three sides, project manager sees it, QC manager sees it, crew sees it, by God, it's gonna get caught. It's gonna get caught in that Swiss cheese somewhere, and we're not gonna miss opportunities. We're not gonna miss things that need to get done. Come join us up here.
Come join the Bartlett family on the roof. We're gonna have Michael Ostra and Weston come back in, and we're gonna go over how to tackle this as a team between the quality control rep and the sales rep on the roof.
So, from a production manager standpoint, you want to make sure that the color's correct. You want to make sure that the count is correct. You know how many squares the roof is, and you have access to the material order. Count it, make sure it's correct. Are the right accessories up here? And then if you're here and the crew's here, you might want to ask the crew. It's very simple. Hey, is there anything you need? Is there anything that didn't get delivered? They'll know. And if there is something that needs delivered, well, then you can send a message to your QC people.
Discovering this stuff on your first stop, first time on the roof, is gonna be a Bartlett pro tip for you. Pro tip. To save yourself an extra material run at the end of the day.
The last thing you want is to have to come back. And honestly, the more times you have to come back, the less money you're making on that job.
Now what we're gonna do, we're gonna walk across this decking. This particular house, the whole front side of the decking looks solid. As we get towards this backside, towards the eave, we see some damaged decking. So these are things the quality control rep, you're gonna wanna grab photos of, input into that midpoint. Also, bring it up to the sales rep if he's on site with you. So then we can then inform the homeowner and just keep everybody in tune with what's going on.
And the homeowner needs to know, which means the project manager needs to be on site. The first time you're on site, you should introduce the homeowner to the QC rep, as we talked about before. If the decking hasn't been revealed, you need to come back when the decking is done. If the decking is cleared, you do the second step in the first visit. But either way, you need to be on that roof when the deck becomes clear, because there's no way you can express to the homeowner what the situation is if you didn't see it. And it should be an expectation of the homeowners that you will be there when the decking was revealed.
So I think the most important one is like when the QC rep discovers these, or the sales rep, communicating that to them so then we can keep the homeowner on board. And also informing the sales rep, because I know like Adam Rogers does it specifically. We have a supplementing team that does stuff on the back end, but I think something Adam does is if he knows this right now, he's already on the phone with his adjuster or whoever he's been working with to get the ball rolling on that supplement.
And I'm glad you bring that up, JD, because that is the expectation. Why else are you here? You're the project manager. Manage your project. If there is damage that needs to be supplemented, get on the phone with your adjuster. As soon as you know there's a problem, you should be on the phone. If there's damage to the decking surface, which is why you're up here, you need to be on the phone with the adjuster saying, hey, we found non-nailable surfaces on the roof. And let me be very clear on that. We found a non-nailable surface on this roof. And then you need to be getting pictures, because guess what your adjuster is going to need? He's going to need to see that it's non-nailable. And that's going to be something we're going to have to supplement for. And if the adjuster knows on install day that that's coming, he's watching for it. And that's going to make it a whole lot easier for scope approval on the backside to get those supplements out. And it's going to make it a whole lot easier for the AR team to collect on that money. And well, let's be real. If they're not able to collect on the money, you're not able to get paid on that. Do you want to get paid? Then do everything in your power to help every other department get their job done. Let's go look at this non-nailable surface, JD.
Let's tackle it. So another pro tip, pro tip. I think it's good to point out for people that have not walked on a lot of roofs, this decking is old. It's still good, but it's a little flimsy. So I think a good pro tip would be to walk on the trusses, which are usually every 24 inches. Now they're not marked, but you just have to use your best judgment. And if you see a really weak spot in the decking, don't go step in there unless you want to go through the roof.
Can we rephrase that? We don't want to talk about age.
Okay.
From an insurance perspective, old is never covered, ever. The only thing that is covered is non-nailable when you get to this point. It can't be old, it can't be rotten, it can only be non-nailable. So if you come across, saying that, it's not old or flimsy, it feels different when it's revealed to the decking. And honestly, you should be walking where the trusses are.
This guy's on the sales side.
Can you see this? It's like what I do, right? But it matters. So pay attention to where you put your feet. Stand where the trusses are, because, well, that's where it's the sturdiest and it's going to feel the best to you. But we're not looking for old.
Be mindful of where you're stepping if you can.
Yeah.
Do your best judgment to find the trusses and walk on them.
As a project manager, especially on your first few roofs, the decking feels different when you walk on decking bare from when you walk on decking that has shingles on it. It's best when it's uncovered to go ahead and walk where the trusses are. The trusses are going to be typically every 24 inches, and you can definitely see the lines between the various sheetings. That's where the trusses are. Step there.
That would be another pro tip from Michael Ostra. Pro tip.
There you go.
So as we're coming over here, like we said, the decking on the majority of the house is good. Along this eave, we see bad decking. And this is what's gonna be a non-nailable surface. So for us as a company to go ahead and install the shingle up to the manufacturer's guidelines, we need a nailable surface. So this is something we need to address, get the material and get replaced.
From a project manager standpoint, you want to get a picture of this because you're going to need to send that picture to your adjuster. As soon as you or the QC man or honestly, the crew identify that you have a non-nailable surface, you need to get up there, you need to get a photograph of it, and you need to be on the phone with your adjuster. We found some non-nailable surface. I'm sending you pictures right now.
And yeah, and that is an awesome tip or process that we use, because us working together, both sides of it, if the quality control rep and the project manager, us working together, see it together, we can get everything taken care of in a timely manner, which is something our crews are big on. We don't want to leave this house open longer than it needs to be. We want to get as much approval ahead of time as we can. So us working together, discovering the problem and tackling it, it's awesome.
And it goes back to the Swiss cheese analogy that I put out earlier. The reality is, if everybody is looking at this, then there's it's very likely that we're going to get it resolved. If only one person sees it, so we want everybody to see it, because then everybody can act on it, and that just makes the process more streamlined.
Pro tip.
When you're taking pictures, this one's right at the eave edge, so I obviously can't get below it. But we keep the camera in landscape mode, and we get several nice clear shots of what the situation is, because your adjuster's gonna need those. Make sure they tell the story. This surface is non-nailable, and we're gonna need a new piece of decking to replace this non-nailable piece. You have to be able to express that to the adjuster. What does QC need to do for this?
So as the quality control rep in this situation, as you're walking the roof and you discover this, obviously, like we just talked about, informing the project manager so he can get the ball rolling on his side. On the quality control side, this is something that we're going to be supplementing for. So getting all the photos that we can to document, and then knowing how many sheets we need to get is going to be your job. Awesome. So as we get on the roof, you'll discover different types of decking. 3 common ones. You're going to have your OSB, which is a lot newer. A lot of the newer homes will have that. You'll have the old plywood or CDX, or you'll discover plank decking or skip decking. That's going to be 1x, whether it's a 1x6, 1x8, 1x10 across the whole decking, or if it's skip sheathing, it's going to be 1xs that are spaced out about 3 to 4, 5 inches apart.
A note on skip sheathing is that would not be a nailable surface, correct?
Correct.
And if you didn't know that you had skip sheathing, as a project manager, you have failed your homeowner. You should have known skip sheathing was up there when you did your attic inspection before the job got approved. If you're just finding out you have skip sheathing, oh, wow, you are way behind the 8 ball. And now you've got a lot of work ahead of you. You're gonna need to get solid pictures of it, and you're gonna need to have a really long conversation with your homeowner and your adjuster.
I'm new! I don't know what to do!
Because if your homeowner doesn't have
Building code upgrade.
building code upgrade built into their policy, your homeowner is now on the hook for, what's a typical re-roof gonna cost?
Right, so again, us teaming up, the quality control rep, the project manager. His side of things, I think he just mentioned it, he's gonna get in contact with his homeowner, find out if they have that BC coverage, that building code coverage. And then as the quality control, we're gonna get tons of photos, and not just photos of the gaps. We wanna pull out our tape measure and actually measure those gaps and document those photos as well.
That actually brings us to another one. What happens if you get on the roof and discover there's a second layer? Conveniently, this roof, we knew the second layer existed because Adam Rogers, as the project manager, is very thorough, and he knew where we had layers, and he got pictures of that on the front end. But I'm gonna show you what you do as the project manager when you discover 2 layers and you didn't know that before you started tear off. This particular roof has 2 layers. Now, again, because Adam is very good at what he does, we knew about that, and this is already part of the work order. We're being paid to do 2 layers and fix that. In the event that you get to the tear off and discover a second layer, there's certain procedures you need to follow as the project manager. The first thing you need to do is you need to send a message off to your QC guy. Holy crap, we've discovered 2 layers. If your QC guy isn't on site, he needs to know coming in that he's got 2 layers now, because somebody's gonna need to communicate that to the crew. Then you're gonna need to get documentation of it, because guess what? It costs extra to take off a second layer, and we have to have that documentation to get that paid for. And this is how you document it. Right here I have 2 layers, the top layer and a newly revealed bottom layer. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna clear the debris off enough that on the top layer, you can write a 1, and then on the bottom layer, same thing, so you can write a 2. Then you're gonna get your phone out and you're gonna take pictures. Always in landscape mode. 1 and 2. 1 and 2. And more pictures never hurts. You want as many pictures as you think you're gonna need, because as soon as you're done talking to your homeowner about the 2 layers on the roof, you're now gonna have to call the insurance company and talk to the adjuster about the 2 layers on the roof. And you're gonna send him pictures so that we can get this supplemented for him.
The last thing I want to touch on is just if it is applicable in your region or the county or city you're working in, some houses require a deck inspection or an ice and water inspection. So when you come across those, say we needed a deck inspection, as soon as that roof's tore off, you're going to want to get in contact with your scheduler or production manager. Most of the time, I think it would be the scheduler, and let her know, hey, the roof's ready for a deck inspection. Let's go ahead and get this called in. Same goes for the underlayment or ice and water. Once the house is all dried in, we go ahead and communicate that with the scheduler to let them know the roof is ready for that city inspection.
Okay, so if the inspection gets done later in the day, does that mean that the crew's gonna have to come back at a different time to finish up the job, depending on what market you're in?
Yep, that will depend on what market you're in. Commonly in Washington, it's a very intense screening process with the city inspectors. So the way we do things there, we'll tear off that roof, go ahead and dry it in, call in the city inspection, and wait to see if they give us any corrections or if it passed. As soon as we get the go-ahead, we're free to, between you and the scheduler, to go ahead and reach back out to that crew and let them know the house is good to be shingled.
Cool. Now, what is a supplement, JD, in layman's terms? Explain it to me like I'm 5.
Layman's terms.
I'll use small words that you'll be sure to understand, you warthog-faced buffoon.
A supplement is anything outside the approved scope of work.
Okay.
So talking about supplements, from a project manager point of view, from time to time, you are gonna discover things on the roof that you didn't know about. And that's where QC and the project manager need to work together to make sure that both departments are aware of what's going on. But as soon as we discover that a supplement is going to be necessary, as the project manager, you should be getting your own set of pictures. You should be putting notes in the file that you also are aware of things, because more eyes will help. What is a supplement? We talk about that a lot. A supplement is, quite frankly, the job was approved, and now the QC is on the job and we discovered something we didn't know about. I showed 2 layers. I showed non-nailable surface or out-of-code decking, skip sheathing, for instance. These are things that, because we didn't know about it going in, we didn't have the approval from the insurance company. Now it's your job as the project manager to make sure you get adequate pictures of that. So as soon as QC sends you a note saying, hey bud, we discovered there's a second layer. We discovered out of code. What things could be out of code, JD?
Decking, chimney flashings.
Okay.
Commonly, if we tear off the roof, the older chimneys, they just don't have step flashing or any type of flashing.
Okay.
So current codes nowadays, they state we need to add that flashing.
What about drip edge?
Drip edge, yep, another thing that is code nowadays. Some of the older roofs, we go to tear off that roof, there's no drip edge. But as long as the homeowner has that building code coverage as part of their policy, we go ahead and get all the photos we can, install the proper material, and then supplement for that to the carrier just to make sure you're getting paid for everything, all the work being performed on that job.
Fantastic. We all know it as a function of the reality is there are 3 sets of people watching, but from the project management side, you need to assume you're the only one. Right, it's our job. And that's where I want the project manager to be. Like, it's on him. Supplements, you gotta be there to prove that it got done. PWI, you gotta prove that it was done. If you know, how do I say this? If they tear off the roof and you're there during tear off and you see that there are 2 layers, or you see that there are metal valleys, or you see that there's ice and water shield, because you couldn't see that until it was torn off, you need to get pictures of it because we can supplement for that. There was ice and water shield. That means the insurance company is obligated to put ice and water shield back up there because, as of course we talk about in our insurance basics, the insurance company is paying for what was there to be put back. So if it was there, you need to get pictures of it so that we can make sure the insurance company pays to put it back. Ice and water shield is a big one. Metal valleys is another big one. These are things you can't see. There's no universe where you're going to be able to see that until the tear off occurs. But if you want to be able to give your homeowner what they had, and that should be your goal, you need to be there.
Yeah, and I would say it's just a safe bet to be, it's better to be safe than sorry. You can never have too many photos. Pro tip. Pro tip.
What I say regularly to my project manager trainees is, you're better to have the picture and not need it than need the picture and not have it. And I think that applies across the board. The reality is the end goal is always a satisfied customer. Yes. The money is a happy side effect of a satisfied customer. So our job then is to make sure that everything is done in a way that the customer can be taken care of properly. And if we do our jobs, all of us collectively do our jobs, we have happy customers, and then we have a thriving company. And then we all continue to have jobs. Because honestly, if we don't have happy customers, we don't have thriving company. And if we don't have a thriving company, well, we're all going to be on the unemployment line.
McDonald's.
Right? You want to flip burgers?
$16 an hour now. So pretty well paid.
Teamwork makes a dream work.
Hell yeah. So we talked earlier about how you need to go back to the job a couple of times. And I spoke about PWI, which of course is paid when incurred. The time to find out paid when incurred is right now. Your QC guy's coming back for his second part of the inspection, and as you can see behind us, the installation is beginning. If there were PWI on this job, this is where they'd be installing it. And it's up to you as the project manager to get up there and get some photographs of it. Because the insurance company isn't going to pay PWI if it wasn't WI. PWI is paid when incurred.
You're so wise. But like a miniature Buddha covered in hair.
So you got to have the photographic evidence. So now's the time. You should know your estimate. If there's PWI, you know about it, and you should be keeping close tabs on that to be here now. And quite frankly, they know things like this too. They know when the dry-in's happening. So you should be communicating with your QC guy and saying, hey man, there's PWI on this job. If you get back and I'm not there and they're doing install, can you let me know so I can come get pictures? Is there anything we can do for you when we come back to get pictures of PWI?
No, I think the biggest thing with PWI is, like you said, it's going to be the ice and water shield. And not just installing the ice and water shield, but determining how much ice and water needs to be installed. And that's going to be all determined on our soffit.
This is why the soffit measurement picture we take is so important during the inspection.
Right, so, and it's also, say, you know, even if our work order will state one row of ice and water on the eaves, but on day of install, either the quality control rep or the sales rep, maybe both of them together, take a double look at that soffit and realize this soffit is 24 inches. At that time, we can get a picture of that measurement and go ahead and supplement for that just to make sure we install the correct amount of ice and water shield.
Very last thing we want to do is put a roof on a house and not have it to code.
Pro tip. Pro tip.
Pro tip.
Michael Lastra,
There you go.
the roof pop.
Stop it. Get some help.
As we get into the summer and it gets to that really warm weather, super easy to scar shingles. What that means is our crews are just being a little rough, or even you walking on it. If you're sliding down the roof in that hot weather with those shingles, it's gonna cause granule loss.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Yeah, and guys, this is really important, especially on roofs that are getting installed with the lighter colored shingle. You got your Shasta whites, your Sierra grays, anything that is above like a darker brown. It's really prominent on those colors to have this scarring issue during install. That's a terrible high five.
So the magic has happened. Obviously, the roof is done, the crew is gone, everything's finished. You should be back at the end of the day when the job gets finished, whether that's the same day as the start or if it's the next day. And it depends on your market, it depends on the roof, it depends on a number of factors whether or not it's going to get finished the same day it was begun. At the end of it, it doesn't matter. You should be there when the job is complete. You need to go with the customer and walk the property. You need to walk around and make sure that the customer is satisfied. If you're walking with your customer and you're picking up bits and pieces, they're going to be picking up bits and pieces. And if you have more than a handful, well, maybe that's something you need to talk to the QC people about. What do you think, JD?
I love that idea. When it's very minimal stuff, like we said with the quality control reps, just be proactive and pick those up.
Do it! Just do it! Just do it! Do it! No, what are you waiting for? Do it!
But if it's an excessive amount, definitely reach out to the quality control rep just so we can be informed, and then we can tackle that issue with the subcontractor.
And I agree with that notion that you guys can then fix the problem on your side because you know about it. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that goes back to the whole communication that we've been talking about throughout this entire training. The two sides of this organization working together. Mm-hmm. I've said it for a long time. The project managers essentially are the eyes of the Bartlett organism. You guys are the hands. Mm-hmm. And the hands got to know what the eyes see. So when we see something as project managers, we need to let them know if it's problematic. Be proactive, pick up. If it's 3 or 4 nails, if it's a couple of bits of underlayment that got lost, fine. But if you walk the property with the homeowner, they know the nooks and crannies to check. Mm-hmm. They'll see the places. And if you're seeing their hands full too, well, that's a training issue that QC wants to tackle. If it's 1s or 2s, the homeowner's happy, you tell the homeowner, or you ask the homeowner rather, hey, what do you think? Isn't this awesome? Doesn't that look great? And the homeowner's gonna be like, wow, I got a brand new roof. Wow, they did it in just X amount of days. Wow, it only cost me my deductible.
Wow, 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 wow.
They're thrilled. So use that thrilled excitement they have, but get out there and get them to accept the property. To accept our job as complete. And ask first, at the last thing you do, okay, is there any concerns? Are there any questions? Would you say you're satisfied with this process? And when they say, yeah, I'm satisfied with this process, then you front load them for the next part of the process. You say, cool, we're gonna send off the final invoice. I'll let you know when the check's on the way. Would you be comfortable giving us a 5-star review when the check gets here? And now when it comes time to collect the check, you can ask for it because they already said they give it to you. This is how you plan and position.
Yeah, and I like that because we focus so much just on the roof itself, but working with Bartlett and part of our whole product package is how we take care of the customer's property, how we take care of their personal items, making sure we clean up just as good as it was the day we started.
Right. And you promised the customer when you sat with them during the pre-production meetings and you went through all this, you promised that the cleanup would be to their satisfaction. So you better make sure it's to their satisfaction. And the easiest way to do it is to ask, is this to your satisfaction? They'll tell you. If they don't like the way something was done, you're gonna hear about it. And then you're gonna have to take action to fix it. I love it.
John Cena. Done. So do I want to say like who I am, my position, what we're doing here? Yeah. Do I just keep going?
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, walk me through this one.
It's like the Bigfoot sighting over here. So, stopping. From let me say that again. From
Oh, none of this feels natural, buds. I'm ready here to up. You will already got up.
No, go ahead.
And lost it again. That was my best moment.
Your best moment.
Is it flowing good? Shaking and baking.
You take this and you tuck it in your pocket, and then you grab your iPad. Small hands, you know what they say.
Oh, there it goes. There it goes. Oh no. There it goes.